Welcome everyone to another episode of Time for BL. It is a podcast where we review movies, TV shows, novels, and comics, all in the boys love genre. Now, today's episode I'm actually excited about because I'm going to be reviewing a show that I actually really love. I'm very excited about this. I'm like trying to hold myself back. It is a web series that came out in 2016 and it is based on a Chinese boys love novel written by Chai Jidan. Chai Jidan has given us some awesome stuff like Advance Bravely and Counterattack, and I'm actually going to be reviewing the show that was based off of the novel Are You Addicted? Called Addicted. This is actually one of my favorite ones. I think if you talk to a lot of people, they really loved Addicted and they wanted to see more of it. It was very sad to see that they never got to do a second season and give us more of the storyline. Sort of. I'll get into that because I've actually read I've read the novel, so I'll get into why it was like for me. But it stars Johnny Wong as Gu Hai and Timmy Shu as Bai Lu Yin. Both actors are amazing, even though I was looking at them the whole time going, there's no way these are high school students. There is no way. It was like seeing two giants hanging around with children because they're both like really tall and really muscular, and all the other co-stars around them, many of them did actually look like high schoolers. So that was interesting. But yeah, I love this show. Should I get into what I love first or because most of the stuff, because I've read the novel as well, I know where a lot of the story goes. A lot of people who haven't read the novel don't know like the full flesh of the characters. Let me try and keep it simple. So Gu Hai and Bai Lu Yin, yes, they are a very Gu Hai wears his emotions on his sleeve. He is not afraid to be romantic at all. And they're very actually a dysfunctional couple, but they do admit their faults to each other. Gu Hai admits that he knows he is way too jealous, that he overreacts in situations. He knows this about himself. And he doesn't really do anything to fix it though. This is where I'm like, they're a very dysfunctional couple, but I'm okay with their dysfunction because I don't feel like the way they were written was for us to go, ooh, I want to be like Gu Hai or I want to be like Bai Lu Yin. It was more, or I want someone like Gu Hai or I want someone like Bai Lu Yin, even though people do like romanticize them like that. The way it was written, it was like, yo, this is Gu Hai and this is how he messes up in life, and this is Bai Lu Yin and this is Bai Lu Yin. He has his faults too, but oh my gosh, Gu Hai, everything Gu Hai does just like overshadows anything Bai Lu Yin does. Honestly, like Gu Hai just goes too far in a lot of situations. But they're not a healthy relationship. They're a dysfunctional relationship, but it works for them. It's like they're that relationship where you're like, you don't get in the middle. They know what they're doing, and that's for them. Gu Hai's jealousy definitely leads him to do a lot of horrible things. And again, I'm mostly thinking about the novels for this point because it's hard for me to separate the novel and the show. The reason why I decided to read the novel, when I found out there was not going to be a second season, I wanted to know what was going to happen next. So I read the novel and I was taken aback. Oh, I was not expecting it. I was not expecting it. I'll come back to it. But yeah, the characters themselves, they're definitely aware of how unhealthy their relationship is. But what we also see is that because the both of them feel abandoned and feel unloved, they're both searching for something and they've kind of found it in each other, and they're kind of repairing that neglect for each other. Like Guhai, what was the line? Where he was basically, he had decided he wanted to replace that love that Bailuyan feels like he didn't have of a mother and a father. Well, because with everything going on, he was trying to like help Bailuyan through those emotions and replace that love, because they both can see that there's stuff lacking in the other person that they're searching for, and they're finding this in each other. Again, doesn't change the fact that it's a dysfunctional relationship, doesn't change the fact that I am a huge fan of the series and the book, even though I'm still like, oh god. It was a horrifying read when I got to that part. People who've read the novel know exactly which scene I'm talking about. Now, what I actually do love about the show as well, it definitely cut some scenes from the book that were like, that do tell you a little bit more about the characters, as far as how petty Guhai can be, and even how far Bailuyan will go just because he's upset or doesn't have that relationship with his mother. But at the same time, I'm not angry they cut it. Like, the way the TV show flows, it's perfect without it. I actually didn't feel like I need those scenes. Without those scenes, how will I know the story? No, I was even surprised when I started reading the book, because I started after watching the show. I was going through and I was going, but this wasn't in the show. Maybe I'm in the wrong thing. And then I look and it's like, this is a translation of Chai Jidan's Are You Addicted? So I was like, let me try another translation. I found someone else's translation, and even though it was written a little bit different, because every translation is just based on that person, like, some words you might not know how to translate it exactly, or there might not be a way to translate it exactly because of meanings and stuff. So their translation was a little bit different, but it was the same story. So I was like, oh no, I'm on the right thing. This is it. And it was definitely an entertaining read, because the entire time I was just in my head imagining Johnny and Timmy reprising the roles of Guhai and Bailuyan, because I just felt like they fit so perfectly in those roles. Again, so sad and kind of not sad that there wasn't a second season. I really wish there was a second season, but I'm gonna get to it. So Guhai, from the beginning, we get to see how childish he is. Oh my gosh, he is a spoiled brat, but it's explained with the fact that he's an only child. His father is obviously very wealthy. He's from a wealthy family, so of course he's spoiled. It's like, what else do you expect from him, in a sense? Like, of course he's this way. His father is the only person who can be blamed for that. He obviously is not used to not getting what he wants, and what he wants is Bailuyan. Him and his girlfriend, a lot of people say a lot of stuff about that girlfriend, but actually, to me, she's very beautiful. Especially for me, I'm looking at like her bone structure, and I'm also looking at the way they did her makeup. I feel like the way her makeup was done was to make her look very serious and very stern, because that's how she's supposed to be. She's supposed to be like the female version of Guhai, basically. So I feel like that's what they did with her to make her look like that. But she's very gorgeous. She's very beautiful. And the whole storyline with her, oh gosh, when she and Guhai have a fight, and Bailuyan has to tell Guhai, you need to go make up with her, and Guhai saying, look, the only reason I'm going to go do that is because you want me to. That whole thing. Oh gosh. Like, seeing the way it's shown from the very beginning, in a sense, that, you know, even though it starts with teasing and bullying, Guhai can't help it. There's something, he reacts like a child. You know, when you hear oh, he hit you, that means he likes you. Worst thing to ever say. Never say that to any child. He hits you or she hits you, so she likes you. No. but that's the way Guhai actually reacts. He likes someone, he doesn't know how to express it, so he expresses it through teasing and stuff like that, and his own weird experiments that make him feel better, because he's I don't know, I guess he feels like he's spending time with Bailuyan. The way they work it out in the end and kind of have this friendship. And also they kind of allude to it in the show. Is it the same in the book? Is that scene the same in the book? I think because in the book we hear Bailuyan's thoughts more. It's a little different in the book, but there's a scene where with the shower, was it the shower? But it was a scene where Bailuyan was didn't want to be alone and naked with Guhai, and Bailuyan in the novel was acknowledging the fact of how weird it is because they're both guys, but just something about it makes him uncomfortable. And it was like this in the book, it was clear that it was this acknowledgement that there's an attraction there, but we got to put it out of our minds. There's other scenes as well where it comes to it where did they show it? No, they definitely did not show this one in the episode. It was episode 12. It was the herpes episode. Was it herpes? No, it wasn't herpes. It was, oh gosh. I was like, it's not that. Hepatitis. I was like, it starts with the H. Hepatitis. It was the hepatitis episode. Episode 12. And it was the Kijigishi scene. In the book, it fully explains what was going on. We get an idea of it because, of course, with the show, they had to cut out a lot of those scenes. They weren't allowed to show those scenes, but the uncut versions are out there and available. I'm just saying. Anyway, but in the book, it does, Bailuyan is admitting to himself. We don't see that, but Bailuyan admits to himself that he wants this, but at the same time he's like, no, we will turn to other sides of the bed and finish and not look at each other, because that is not gay at all, dude. Accept your feelings. In the book, I will say, because in the book you can hear their thoughts more and how they feel about the situation, it makes you realize, in the book, like reading it feels more consensual in the book than it did the TV show. That's what I will say. Like, because in the book, even like I said, that whole scene, the hepatitis scene, in the book, it really shows that, Guhai does what he does, but Bailuyan does have a reaction towards it. In the book, we can see Bailuyan does have feelings for Guhai as well. It's not just acknowledging Guhai's feelings. There's like feelings in between them, even though we don't get Bailuyan really saying it out loud often. I'm trying to see what can I focus on that's not just in the show, but it's hard because I keep going back to scenes that I want to talk about. But before I even get to it, let's talk about Bailuyan's mom and Guhai's dad. A lot of the show has it's so weird because both Bailuyan's mom praises Bailuyan a lot, but then when she talks to him, it doesn't feel like praise to him. It feels like she thinks higher of her new stepson. And then it's the same with Guhai's dad. Guhai's dad will praise his son, or what sounds like he's praising his son when he talks to Bailuyan, but when he's talking to his own son, it sounds like he's saying, your new stepbrother, it's it's interesting, especially since most of that is, of course, before they find out the plot twist that everyone knows about each other. But yeah, it's interesting. I liked that because I think it also shows in real life you have a lot of parents who will boast about their kids when their kids aren't around. And then when they're talking to their kid, it's a comparison to someone else's child. I don't know if that makes sense for you. It makes sense to me. Like, why aren't you a lawyer? Gina down the road, her daughter is a lawyer. Maybe you should look into going to law school. You know, there's that kind of style out there. But then when they're talking to Gina down the road, it's, oh, my daughter, she's doing so much. She just started her own Etsy store. It's like things like that. It's interesting because that was in there as well. And I think that's something everyone can relate to. Parents not praising you in front of you, but praising you behind your back. More parents should praise their kids in front of them. I love Bailuan's dad. I saw him and I was like, is that your dad or your brother? Is he single? He's single? He is fine. I mean, Guhai's dad, the actor who plays Guhai's dad, is also very attractive. But the actor who plays Bailuan's dad, like, all that manual labor definitely made that chest, like, I'm gonna stop. Now, let me jump into the censorship real quick before I get to Bailuan's ex-girlfriend and why I'm not necessarily sad that there is no second season. So the censorship was actually really sad to see, and you really saw how that played into Advance Bravely, because I really enjoyed Advance Bravely, but at the end of the day they played it more like a bromance. There was so much that was cut out of Advance Bravely. I don't even know how they made some of those into bromance, because, like, oh gosh, what was that phrase? Because I wasn't focusing on Advance Bravely, I don't have everybody's stuff written down. But in Advance Bravely, there was a friend who was living with the guy who he's pretending to be in a gay relationship with. And then you have the other friend who is living with the guy who robbed him. And then him, of course, and the instructor. And we're supposed to look at this and go, yeah, these are just 3 bromances. Now, it's obvious the way they did it is so that fans of the actual book, or fans who know this is all BL, can really enjoy that. But they also did it in a way about, yeah, these are just friends. They're just best friends. The bestest friends in the world. That's why he flew all the way to North China in the middle of the night walking to get to his best friend's house to spend time with him. That's why he did that. I mean, don't you do that for your best friend? Just up and leave and travel and try and search for their house when you don't know where their house is? Everyone does that, right? I mean, when your best friend says that they want Lotus, don't you just, like, change the activities for the day and cook them up some Lotus fruit? Was it the fruit they ate? And just do everything for them? I'm just gonna, like, don't you just carry snacks hidden and put the friend on your back of your bike and just ride them around? I'm talking about Advance Bravely. But yeah, it's kind of sad to see that because Addicted the series had to cut out so much, it really affected, like, Advance Bravely. And it also affected, like, any BL turned into a show to this day in China for Chinese BLs, because Guardian, which is a boys love novel, was turned into a TV show. And this is the one I want my husband to watch, because I know he likes he would enjoy the magic of it, I guess. They changed a lot though. Like, they got rid of a lot of the spiritual and try to make it more scientific or something. I'm not even sure. Aliens? They live under the ground? I don't know. But I want my husband to watch that, because I feel like he would love the storyline as far as what it exists, and I want to see if he can notice the BL of it. If you know what I mean. Like, can he see it? Because one of the jokes we make is about American Dad, where they talked about the kids finding the Fast and Furious script, and it turns out Fast and Furious was a gay romance all along. So that's, like, one of the things we compared it to. Like, oh yeah, it was a gay romance all along. And then of course we thought with Untamed and anything else, like they know that there's a market for putting Chinese boys love novels into TV shows, but then they change it up. In some of them they're adding female love interest that never existed in the books. Some of them it's brothers, and some of them it's this brotherly connection, the bromance. And it's sad to see that, because it like I said, it's censorship. It is censorship, and I don't know. I'm not I'm not for censorship. I feel like when you basically when you change someone's art like that, you're changing the meaning of it. Let us see the full meaning of it and make our decisions as to how we feel about it. But you know what? That's at least they're making that moolah. they're getting their work out there. That's the good part, right? Anyway, let's talk about Baluyan's ex. That chick. Anyway, so she constantly, of course, calls Baluyan over and over again, and then, of course, at the end of the series, we see her show up because she wants Baluyan back. Now, we do get to see a lot of her thought processes in the book where, anyway, whatever. I don't care about her. So, I'm gonna spoilers for the novel. Why I am not as sad that there is no second season. I'm sad there's no second season because I would love to see the show continue. I'd love to see the full book out there in show form, but I'm also not sad because so the ex and Gu Hai, they go to a coffee shop and they're talking, and she wants to know like what's going on with Baluyan because she's trying to get him back. He's not excited she's back. He doesn't want her back. Is someone else around? And Gu Hai just says yes, he has someone else. And she goes, ooh, who's this girl? Da 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 da. And Gu Hai says, it's me. So of course she laughs it off at first. He goes, no, it's me. And then she goes, oh, well, okay, well that proves how much he loves me. He loves me so much he couldn't date women anymore. Now he feels he can only date a man, so I will get him back. And Gu Hai so anyway, what she does is basically she hires some thugs to attack her so that Baluyan can save her, and think because of everything that's happened to him, he automatically will blame Gu Hai and say he sent the thugs after the chick. That chick. Anyway. And that's how she'll win him back, because then he will hate her. It will hate Gu Hai and all that stuff. And she really tries. She's really being flirtatious with him that night because he stays with her, can't leave, and does something but doesn't do anything to him at the same time. It's like she's rubbing up against him, but it's just like okay. He eventually decides he needs to go to Gu Hai and let Gu Hai know that, you know, he has nothing to worry about. This is their relationship. And as we've seen in Gu Hai fashion, he kidnaps Baluyan. So he kidnaps Baluyan, takes him to, oh gosh, was it a hotel or a room? He took him to a room. Oh boy. Again, remember, spoiler alert. We're already in there. He takes him to a room, and while Baluyan is screaming for him to stop, because, you know, they're good, Gu Hai rapes Baluyan. That's just, yeah. He rapes Baluyan and has some thugs bring the ex in to watch. And she faints from the Did she faint? It was horrifying. It was horrifying to read. Eventually Baluyan kind of just gives up, and anyway, Gu Hai in this, of course, really hurts Baluyan, and he has to call a doctor. The doctor basically just tells him not to do it rough. Oh gosh. and they break up, sorta. But eventually, because it's a romance novel at the end of the day, they get back together. But this is why I'm like, they're dysfunctional and they know it. When they get back together, they acknowledge it. They acknowledge that this relationship is bad as far as like how they treat each other, what can happen. They basically admit that if they had easy access to, they'd probably have killed each other at this point. So they know that this relationship isn't 100% healthy, but they decide to keep it going and keep trying. And then eventually they have sex again. But this time, Bailuan decided he wanted to be in control of everything, so he wouldn't allow... He had kind of made the decision that Guhai would not be allowed to be on top ever again. This is now an explicit episode. To be on top ever again. And Guhai, because he knows, he's acknowledging that he really hurt Bailuan, and he understands why this relationship is the way it is, he kind of just lets it go. Like, it's like, all right, sure, cool. A doctor gets called. I love the doctor getting called a second time because that was funny. Those friends. Guhai has some great friends. But then eventually, Guhai and Bailuan they do eventually get to a place where they trust each other again. Yeah. So for me, that's actually where I kind of stopped reading. I stopped after they I stopped a bit after they kind of got to the place where they were trusting each other again, because it was like one of those situations where I couldn't put it down, because I'm just like, oh my god, what, and I just kept reading, and when I finally got to a place where I was like, so they're good again, they're happy again, I went, and this is where I'm going to stop, because I don't even want to think about what can happen next. I did read it a little further actually, but I just didn't want to think about all the bad things that can happen next and stuff like that. But so for me, because of that scene with Guhai and Bailuan, even though I'm sure they'd find a way to edit that out because of how much they were censored for the whole show, but because of that scene, I was happy that there wasn't a second season, but I was also kind of sad because, I mean, it's weird and it's hard to like even, because there's no defense obviously for it, but I don't know, it's weird. But overall, as far as the series is concerned, I do think it was a good series. We're just talking about the web series. I'm trying my best to like not focus on the novel when I'm talking about the web series as far as that part. As far as the web series is concerned, definitely a 9 out of 10 must watch. I didn't even talk about Yuchi and Yangmeng. Oh gosh, like they were just a whole nother thing. I love how Yuchi is just cute or hot, like that's it. Can't play basketball. Like he's just all talk. He loves toilet paper. And Yangming is adorable. I just love him. He is so cute. I love the adorable ones. Yeah, definitely a 9 out of 10. Mainly because I feel like a lot of people do romanticize the characters. Because they're only watching the show itself, and even in the show, I mean, it's obvious like Guhai is someone you don't want to be like. He just kidnaps you and does this and does that. He's very immature. I feel like after reading the novel, especially for me, I realized that this was just a story of a dysfunctional, unhealthy relationship, and these two people are together trying to find a way to become healthy and love properly and not like hurt each other anymore. And that's the way I read it. That's the way I read it. And that's the way I'm gonna try and keep it. Let me know what you think. Don't forget, you can go on Instagram. I'll have a picture of Addicted on there, and you can just go on and comment. Let me know what you thought of the show. Let me know what titles you'd like me to review. I love to hear some stuff that maybe I've never seen or read, so I can review those as well. Don't forget, you can listen to me on Spotify, which you're probably listening to me on Spotify. That's where most of my listeners are. And you can also listen to me on anchor.fm/time4BL. I'm JD Young, and I want to thank you so much for spending the time with me, and I hope that you can join me next time to make some more time for BL. Have a good morning, afternoon, evening, night. Love you. Bye.